Ladies and gentlemen, we're back with another tier list. Now, I didn't make one in January because I was competing in a tournament, so I didn't want to give my opinion on the civs and all that. I didn't want to give you guys a fake tier list, you know what I mean? So we're back, and I'm about to discuss which civs, in my opinion, are the top and the worst civilizations right now. Let's get started. These are the tournament win rates, which I just want to show you guys quickly. In the recent tournament, which, spoilers, I did win the first S tier tournament 2025. That's right, thank you very much. And these are the win rates from this tournament. It is not all updated. I'm pretty sure the last day is not updated, so I'm gonna go through them and discuss it a little bit. Obviously, in tournaments, there are some civilizations that are better, some are worse. I'm going to make a tier list strictly on majority land maps. I will mention if the civ is only good on hybrid maps, but majority of the civ tier list right here is going to be on the open land maps like Dry Arabia and so on and so forth. Yeah. Oh, and disclaimer, of course, disclaimer. This is not a tier list for gold level players. No gold players were harmed in the making of this video. Thank you. And also, if you're losing your games, you're not losing because your civ is ranked D tier in my tier list. You're losing because you suck, probably. And if your opponent's civ is right here, he's not winning because it's S tier. He's winning because he's better than you. Number one civ, probably the best civ in the game. I think it has been banned the most. 70 bans right there. It is going to be Jushi Legacy. It is incredibly strong. The reason why it's strong is right now we're in the Pro Scout meta, and Jushi Legacy can age up to castles super fast. They can research Pro Scouting super fast. They start with Imperial Officials, so they get free gold. Meditation Garden is very strong landmark. They don't really have a weakness. They're just very, very good. And if you get a good RNG with the resources, your Meditation Garden is like broken. It gives you like 130, 40 resources a minute, which is equivalent to like 3 workers for the rest of the game at the cost of no supply. Okay, let's go on to the next one. So I'm going to be heavily influenced by this tournament because I just played it, so all this is very fresh in my memory. But I think the best civ is Jushi Legacy. After that, I don't know which civ goes, but we're going to put Holy Roman Empire. It's very simple. They gather extremely quickly, and because the meta is Pro Scouting meta, what HRE can do is they don't get the Pro Scouting as fast as Jushi Legacy, but they can actually make way more units than any civ early on. So once you're starting to fight for tier with Pro Scouting, HRE will always have more units than you because they have the chapel and they're gonna get the wood faster, food faster, so they're gonna outproduce you massively, which makes it very hard to contest them. They're also very good on water maps, hybrid maps. The problem is they're so good on land maps that you're never going to see HRE on water maps like you used to back in the day. Next civilization we'll be talking about is going to be Ottoman. I think Ottoman is one of the worst civs in the game. We have seen some play with Ottoman on a water map called Moving Out. I have watched those games. I have played against Ottoman in practice. I don't really get it, and on land maps, it's basically a non-existent civ at the pro level play. I have tried Ottoman Pro Scouting. In theory, when you think about Ottoman, it sounds really good because you get the Sultan Hani trade network, you get some gold, you get Pro Scouting, then you get like free units, and you have food forever. But everything, like, there's too many things you need with Ottoman to actually make it work, and I feel like it's probably just a little bit too slow. So obviously, like, Ottoman is great in Imperial, but, you know, at the top level play, it's like if you're banking on your civ being good in Imperial, that civ is not very good, okay? I'm going to put Japanese in C tier. Actually, I'm going to put it in B tier. Now, I'm going to explain why this is affected because of the water maps. Japanese on land maps is a D tier. It is not very good. It is pretty bad, in fact. But Japanese is S tier on hybrid maps and on a lot of the water maps. It's probably the best civ for maps like Four Lakes. For moving out, it's great. There was another map that I'm trying to remember that I cannot right now. Oh, Lakeside that we've had in the tournament. It's the best civ in my opinion. So S tier for water and hybrid maps. And then for land maps, it's D tier. So we're going to put it at a B tier. It is a very important civ in tournament drafts. But it's like super obvious where you're going to play it. Or Caroline as well, yeah. But it's super obvious where you're going to play it, which is kind of also the problem with the civ. But I'm going to put it in B tier. Like I said, I'm going to be affected by the tournament, so it is what it is. Next civilization we'll be talking about is going to be Mongol. I'm going to put Mongol in C tier. It has some uses. It's like, it can be played on some land maps, like Hill and Dale you can play Mongol. Some hybrid maps you can play Mongol. But I feel like you're very reliant on your opponent making mistakes. And you're very reliant on your trade. Like, if your trade is in a good spot, you can play Mongol. If trade is not in a good spot, then it's not very good. But it's still better than Ottoman. The next civilization we'll be talking about is going to be Delhi. And I think the last time I've done a tier list, Delhi was S tier. But I'm going to have to move it down. I think Delhi is A tier civ. And I'll explain why. So Delhi... just to give you an example of this, let's look at Delhi win rates in the tournament. Delhi is the lowest win rate civ with 17%, 17.4% win rate. And I don't think that Delhi is actually bad. I know this is like tournament and it's 419, but it's also got 25 bans. I think people are playing it wrong. They're still playing Delhi like the old Delhi, where I make Ghazi Raiders, I make Archers, and I zug. I just send it across the map, and I win the game or I lose the game. The way you play Delhi, I actually have very good win rate in practice with Delhi. And because I played with Vortex, he even mentioned that the only Delhi he loses to is mine. So what I figured out is if you try to YOLO with Delhi, you're probably going to lose. What you need to do is put a lot of pressure on the map, and then just try to get an age up going. Like you capture the sacred sites. The moment you capture, you have to abandon ship and age up, because you get incredible amount of value from the free upgrades. So basically, the way the timing works out is when your feudal upgrades are done, you age up, and then you start all the upgrades in castle, and you get a massive resource advantage over your opponent, and then you can also produce knights or elephants or whatever else. But most players are playing it like super aggressive, and in my opinion, it just doesn't work as well anymore, because other civs at the top level have pro scouting faster than you, so they are on deer economy faster than you. So you're gonna have actually not less units, but before, when Delhi was dominant, you had way more units than your opponent. That's not really the case anymore. So it's a very good civ, but it's not as good as it used to be because of the pro scout meta. The next civ we'll be discussing is another A tier civ. I think Malian is very good. Let me see how many times I played it. So Delhi I'm 1-1 with. Malian I'm 2-1. So I did play Mali or in practice at least quite a bit. It was a very contested pick. Another civ that goes for pro. Most of these civs that are good, by the way, go for pro scouting. That's how the meta is right now. Just like we had the meta of if you can go 2TC, it's good. Now, if you can go pro scouting with it, it's a good civ. Mali pro scout is very strong because if any civ tries to be super greedy and skip units while pro scouting, Malian scouts can catch up and kill them all. And you get a lot of passive income. You can mass incredible amount of units. So Mali in the current meta is very good, but I would say some of these civs do it a little bit better. Next one we'll be talking about is going to be Rus. Rus is S tier. Now, I've talked about this before I started the video, but the reason why Rus is S tier is because pro scouting into fast castle horse archers is incredibly strong and oppressive to play against. Massing knights doesn't actually work against that. If you mass men-at-arms, that obviously doesn't work. If you go for like archer comp against mass horse archers, then you're immobile. So the only way you can play against this is horsemen against mass horse archers. But if you do horsemen then your actual army strength is not very good as the opponent of Rus. So I feel like it just sets up Rus really, really well. And part of the reason why Rus is so strong is that it counters China, or counters. It doesn't have like a 100% win rate, but it's very good against HRE and China, which are some of the best pro scouting civs. So because of that, yeah, Rus is just very, very strong. It's also pretty much impossible to stop their fast castle these days because of how the game works and everything else. So they got a lot of passive gold. Very good. Next one we'll be talking about is going to be... Now, this one hurts a little bit, but... Ayyubid. Ayyubid has its place. Actually, Vortex and I... By the way, I'm going to mention Vortex quite a bit because I played like 20 or 30 best of 5s or 7s against him. So, we actually both like Ayyubid quite a bit. I don't think I've played it almost... Did I even play it in the tournament? I went 0-2. Kicked up it. I don't know what maps I played it on, but... Yeah, Ayyubid is a weird one because Ayyubid meta was fast castle. It was like Dervish wing into fast castle. The pro scouting meta absolutely destroys that. Like, it doesn't work, okay? Because you go for the fast age up, meanwhile they get all the deer, and then you age up, but because your age up is so slow, because you're Ayyubid, as you're about to push out, they age up too because they're on deer economy. So it is not very good. It is, against most civs, it struggles pretty hard, but there are some matchups that it's very good at, and there's some maps that Ayyubid is good in. So for example, you can play it on some hybrid maps. It's pretty good. Like Lakeside or Kerlagular, you can play it, or even Hill and Dale or King of the Hill. It is probably like a B tier on those maps, I would say, maybe a little like B+. The problem is, if you play King of the Hill as Ayyubid against Rus, you're gonna lose. So it's like, it's playable, but also you gotta get a good matchup, which it's too risky to play it. Ayyubid is even slower than Abbasid for some reason. Well, they have less gathering rate, and they don't have fresh foodstuffs, so which is quite a big deal. Next one, potentially one of the worst civs right now, in my opinion. It's going to be Abbasid. I mean, it's very simple, guys. Abbasid is a 2TC civ. 2TC is not good against pro scouts, okay? It's not. You can only lose against 2TC if you're Pepega, like I lost today one game, but Abbasid is just too slow. There's actually some development about a couple of days before the tournament playoffs, like finals. I tried Abbasid Pro Scout 1TC Fast Castle, and it actually worked quite well. So this is something I'm going to experiment with, but I cannot see it being like, you know, B, A, or S tier. Maybe it's going to go up to B tier. If I play it a little bit more and get a feeling for it, but it's just too slow. And then on hybrid maps, this is an interesting thing. On hybrid maps, Abbasid used to be very good. Very good. But people figured out how to play against Abbasid, and it's actually very bad on hybrid maps now. Like Kerlagular or Four Lakes. Maps like those, Abbasid is just like... I've tried it, it's just bad. So yeah, next civilization we'll be talking about is going to be China, and it's going to be another S tier civ. We got GG Dog right here. China is very good, very similar to Jushi's Legacy. Why it's good, I mean, you have IOs for taxes. You're actually producing IOs from Imperial Academy, which means you'll be ahead on villagers compared to the opponent if you count IO as like a villager. Their pro scouting is very quick. They can rush castle very quick. Their castle landmarks are very good. The landmark in castle that gives you a lot of vision is very strong for the pro scout meta, because there's a lot of knights and harassment and stuff, so you can see where the enemy villagers are. That landmark got buffed in the last patch or the one before. So yeah, China is just very, 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 very strong. Potentially like A+, but I think China is really good because of those things. Next one is going to be JD. And I'm gonna put it in A tier. I think JD is quite strong, actually. And this is one of the first 3 very underrated picks in the tournament. I would say so far, I think a lot of players in the tournament would put Delhi into S tier as well. But I think people kind of have the same opinion so far. JD, I think, was the hidden, not dark horse necessarily, but I am 4-0 with JD in the tournament. And if you look, nobody played it. Nobody. Vortex played it once. Louis played it once. And we got loss. I think people severely underestimated how good JD is in the current meta. I know people see it as worse French, but I think it's quite strong. And I think because people did not play it in practice, they didn't practice against it. And when I picked it in the draft, they were probably maybe a little bit confused, but I did really well with it, and I did really well with it in practice. Why is it good? Well, it's very good for pro scouting. You have knights in feudal, and you have a hero that you can level up. So if you're, because the pro scout meta is fighting in feudal, you have knights, and you have a hero that levels up from fighting. So, yeah, it's very good. And in my opinion, JD is very decent into both of these. Now, some of the top ones are top ones for a reason, right? But there it is. The next civilization we'll be talking about is getting downranked. That's right. The first controversial, or maybe the second. This is, I guess, the first one. Byzantine A tier. Now, this is what's going to happen. So, I actually did not practice Byzantine at all. Because in practice, I won almost all my games to Byzantine. I didn't practice Biz much because basically when you practice for the tournament, everyone figures out their own meta and you kind of lean into it. And I leaned heavily into Pro Scouts. And I figured if English is bad, because Pro Scouting with English is not good, then Biz should also be bad. But Biz is a lot stronger Civ than English. But they should not be able to compete against the Pro Scouting. And I started practicing against it. And Biz honestly probably loses against most of these. It can win. It is dependent on the map. But I don't value Biz as high as I used to before. Now, I would maybe even put it like B+. I don't think it's that good. I think it's too slow. And if you make any mistakes, you're dead. Like, any mistakes, you're out. You get butchered. So yeah, it's still a good Civ, right? It has really good bonuses. And if/when Pro Scouting gets nerfed, Byzantine is going to be back to S tier. But right now, the Pro Scouting is too strong. The timing is too good. So I'm going to give Biz A tier. But it's probably going to bounce back with no changes to Biz happening to S tier if Pro Scouting gets nerfed. So there you go. The last 3. The most controversial ones. English. Psych. It sucks. It's so bad. I have tried so hard. Let me see the win rates of English. Dude, I have tried so bad to make this Civ work, guys. You have no idea. It got banned twice. Bro, who banned that? You're embarrassing. It got picked 18 times only with 2 bans, and it has 38% win rate. I have tried 1 TC aggression, 2 TC, 2 TC fast castle. I have tried Pro Scouting with English. It just doesn't... At the top, like, English is a good Civ overall, right? In AOE4. At the tippity top level, it's so bad. It just doesn't work. And this is the worst part. Sometimes the Civ is bad, like Japanese, but then it's amazing on hybrid maps. This shit sucks on every map. There's no good map for it. Not one. Not one. All of them suck. Yeah, and it was often left unpicked in the drafts. Like, it was like one of the civs that was not picked, or one of the 2 civs that was not picked. Maybe Forlex or Caligula. It doesn't work. against like a good player, you will get mowed down by the tempo, and they will just outproduce you. English is too slow. That's the problem. Even on maps like Four Lakes, because I thought it would be good on Four Lakes, and I practiced it on Four Lakes, it's too slow. Like, you play Four Lakes against Japanese, you're going to just die if they rally their units across, because they're going to produce more than you. And that's it, right? Because they have better eco, and they have faster production. So, English. But again, once pro scouting, if pro scouting gets nerfed, English is probably going to jump up, because 2TC English might be back on the menu. And if 2TC English is back on the menu, then the civ is going to become a lot better. But yeah. Next civ, and that is another one of my secret picks. French. Now, the only other players that have focused on French, which is interesting enough, are the top 4 players. 3-2, 0-2. Well, Anoten focused on it, but not, didn't win with it. But only the top 4 figured this out, and we figured this out towards the very end of the tournament. 4-0, 2-0, 3-2, 0-2. French is one of the best civs in the game, in my opinion. Pro scouting is cheaper. Your economy drop-off buildings are cheaper. The build order is very smooth, very clean. You open with a knight. You can harass the opponent. You can push them off of the gold. And even though you make just one knight into scouts, you force the opponent to make barracks. The moment they make barracks, you make an archer range. And you are already ahead. Like, the whole rock, paper, scissors thing, you are ahead because your landmark is a stable. And right after first night, you make a couple of scouts, you do the pro scouting, and then you just go full army. Like, you don't make like 10 scouts, you just make like 3-4 scouts.
3 fucking scouts?
Thank you. Yeah, you make 3, okay, fine. And then you just pro scout while you're preventing your opponent from pro scouting. It is probably, together with HRE, the most oppressive civ in Feudal Age. It is very hard to play against them at the top level. And if the player is really good with them, it's a destruction. And like I said, I practiced French a lot. And, well, I played it. I think I played this like only in the last 3 matches. So in like quarterfinal, semifinal, final. And I won all my games with it. So it is very, very strong. And the last civilization. Order of the Dragon. Gold League players in shambles. Now, you guys know I always called Order of the Dragon shit. And it was shit. Like, I'm gonna be honest. I stick by my words. This civ fucking sucked badly. Why? Because it runs out of food. For those that don't know, Chapel with OTD is trash. Okay? It's trash. The problem is you run out of food super quickly. Like, HRE didn't need, before the Pro Scout meta, HRE didn't need to Pro Scout. They can just make farms. It doesn't work with OTD. The economy works differently. All the problems with OTD have been fixed because of the Pro Scouting. All the problems. Because your major problem was the food. You run out of food, you die. And now with Pro Scouting, very similar to HRE, you can fight in Feudal. Now, I had games in practice where OTD beat Delhi in Feudal Age. I have games in practice where OTD beat French, where OTD beat China in Feudal. So, I think it's another very underrated pick. And I actually played it against Vortex in the tournament. And I played it on Gorge with China versus OTD, and I won. And I think people have focused on OTD on mostly water maps, if I'm not mistaken. If we look here, Lakeside. Okay, Lakeside, it's a water map, 6-2. Baldland is a land map with 0-1. Gorge, 1-1. The 1 win is mine. Moving out, another water map, and then King of the Hill. So people have heavily practiced OTD on water maps because it is a very strong water map civ or hybrid map civ. But it's actually quite decent on land maps as well in the Pro Scout meta. If you are OTD player, do not go Cathedral, okay? never ever, there's almost never time to go Cathedral with OTD. You should always go Burger. The amount of resources you save with Burger, together with all the food that you get, you will actually outlast your opponent in the food department because your units are cheaper, but they're twice as strong. And with that being said, because they're so strong on water maps, they're probably S tier on water maps. And I think they're a B plus on land maps. They're about B plus, maybe even a bit better. I haven't gotten to practicing it as much on land maps, which is something to look forward to. I want to play more with OTD and Abbasid with pro scouting on land maps and figure it out, so that's something to look forward to for stream. But I'm gonna have to say OTD is an A tier civ. Now, if pro scouting get nerfed, OTD is going to drop. Probably pretty badly. Like, if professional scouts get nerfed, I can see OTD dropping all the way to like C or D tier again, depending how badly the pro scouts get nerfed. But, you know. So right now, in the professional scout meta, this is, in my opinion, tier list for the game. And you know what a great thing about this is? That we have 10 civs that are very close to one another. And I just want to give a shout out to devs, because even with 16 civilizations, the fact that we have 10 civs so close to one another is crazy. Like, all the civs are completely different, the way they play out, the bonuses and stuff like that. So the fact that we have 10 that are just neck and neck, like, I do believe that any of these civs can beat any of these civs. Some are better in some matchups than the others. And then obviously we have these that are kind of, but I think a lot of this, whenever the next patch happens, which we should be having a patch, if the pro scouting gets nerfed, which I assume it will because the game is so focused on it, we might see some reshuffling. You know, French might not be S tier. Again, it all depends how big the nerf to pro scouts is, right? But that's it. There's a lot more stuff that I'm going to talk about on my stream regarding certain matchups. I can mention some now. There's a lot of matchups in the game that if you guys watch the tournament, you might be like, oh my god, this civ beat this civ. A lot of the matchups are completely flipped upside down. Malian, in my opinion, is pretty even against Delhi these days. Maybe I would put it slightly favored. Delhi used to like beat on Malian so bad, like it was like a free win for Mali, or sorry, for Delhi. And now it's not like that anymore. French and JD used to auto lose to Byzantine and to civs like China or Jushi, but actually those matchups I would even put French and JD counter to Byzantine because of how many units you have and because of the knights. So there's a lot of interesting stuff like that, and a lot of like meta being developed in that way, which I think is really cool. So we'll talk about it more on the streams. And that's it. If you're watching on YouTube, I want to thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. The emergency, urgent, burgent tier list. I'll be releasing more videos, game analysis and everything else from the tournament. Thank you for watching, Twitch gamers. Let's keep going.